Hey everybody, it's Party Elite with another early access video for you guys showing Skrolk's Rod of Corruption quest battle, but since I'm on a bit of a time limit, I'm focusing on some of the awesome units that the Skaven bring to the field rather than the battle itself, though I do give a summary of the battle at the end. A massive thanks to Creative Assembly once more for inviting me down to the event so I can showcase this content for you, and make sure you check out the link below to my Skaven campaign video as well.
Let us begin! Yes!
Yes, Skrolk, but first things first, we're going to get a good look at you. Legendary Lord, Spellcaster, and melee capable, though terribly armored. His ability gives a -5 to melee attack to enemies near him, and the lore attribute reduces charge speed and bonus when casting, and apart from that, he's got a slew of spells available. In this next shot, you'll see how the Plague Vortex spell looks. It's basically Foot of Gork 2.0 in how it looks visually, starting with an explosion, causing constant damage it looks like, and then ending with an explosion as well. As a stationary vortex, it stands to be pretty powerful, and apart from it, the lore also has a breath spell, an augment that imbues poison damage, an armor debuff hex, and 2 spawning spells, one for clan rats and another for death runners. Moving on to the wizard Zap Spark, you'll see he's carrying an item to strengthen melee attack, weapon damage, and mental fortitude of an ally at the cost of 30 points of armor, and he also has the Doom Rocket, which I'll be showing shortly. He does not have all the spells of ruin on him, missing Howling Warp Gale that pins enemy flying units in place for 19 seconds, and the Scorch Breath spell. You'll notice also that Skitter Leap is a new type of spell, allowing an ally to gain the stock ability rather than teleport in any way. Here you can see the Doom Rocket in action. High Arc of Fire goes straight up, explodes into multiple little clusters, and then drops on the enemy, causing a decent amount of damage. Moving on, you can see some of the units and unit stats and abilities. Scurry Away seems pretty constant across units and increases speed by 12% when leadership is low, allowing you to escape and return to the fray. Strength in Numbers, meanwhile, makes for a slower unit that has higher melee defense and leadership as long as health is above 50%. So we've seen armor-piercing rat ogres, anti-large storm vermin with halberds, and now we've got plague monks with frenzy and an anti-infantry bonus, meaning they'll be quite effective with high leadership. Moving on, gutter runners can vanguard deploy, have stock, and can fire while moving, so they'll make for a fun harassing unit. There's also the slingers with poison variety of gutter runners who have a dodge trait, and they also cause poison damage in melee and from range. Next up, Plague Monk Sensor Bearers are frenzied, armor-piercing, magical damage dealing, and leadership shattering, though they have low armor of their own and a middling melee defense, and no damage resistance to boast of. Next up, the Poison Wind Globadiers are a small unit carrying magical damage in their armor-piercing anti-large ammunition, and they're decently armored, though they have terrible melee stats otherwise. The Plague Claw Catapult has armor-piercing missiles, is designated as anti-infantry, and has a further debuff to leadership wherever it strikes. As far as artillery goes, it will certainly have its uses on the battlefield, especially with the magical damage output and trying to break enemy units before lines can meet. Now, let's move on to the big boys, starting with the Hell Pit Abomination. The amount of work put into this bad boy is astounding. This thing can regenerate, and when it has less than 10% of hit points, it can revitalize itself, regenerating some of its health. Alternatively, it dies, and a unit of Skaven slaves' spears spew out of its carcass. Apart from that, regeneration and a natural weakness to fire, the ability to cause fear and terror, obviously, a very high leadership, and a very high weapon strength with armor-piercing and anti-large bonuses make this a serious weapon of mass destruction and will rattle any opponent. Take a look at the detail work here. This thing is absolutely gorgeous, it's horrifyingly animated, and the multiple rat heads are completely gruesome. Sheer mass allows it to toss enemy infantry aside as well, and look at this awesome animation. I am in love with the Hell Pit Abomination. Now, on the topic of tossing infantry though, the Doom Wheel is, for all intents and purposes, a chariot that fires armor-piercing missiles that do 50 points of AP damage, is anti-infantry, and between 210 points of AP damage in melee and a 26 bonus against infantry will take care of most that stand in its way. The model and the animations are stunning. Look at the little rats running on the inside, and look how it bounces about on the field as it moves, causing fear and terror. This thing is going to be amazing for coming in for rear and side charges into enemy infantry, as long as it's micromanaged well and doesn't get stuck in. It's a straight-up harvester just plowing through the enemy. Alright, as the battle overview is about to begin, I just want to mention the introduction to the battle is what you saw at the beginning of this video. There's nothing like the Battle of the Fallen Gates opening this video off, but there is this clever little flanking maneuver that comes in from the right flank. We've got a Saurus Old Blood as well as some Feral Cold Ones, a Carnosaur, but I've got some Halberdiers there. I also have my Globadiers there, so within melee or with range, I am anti-large, so taking care of these guys almost instantaneously. You'll see they're dropping in morale pretty quickly. They're rampaging already. Health is dropping too, and almost shortly thereafter they actually give up and they're on their way out, so I get my Halberdiers to take care of, well, the Carnosaur and the Saurus Old Blood instead. You'll see they are able to toss me around, of course, but I've got some anti-large damage and they're able to take care of these guys relatively quickly. Get the Rat Ogres in there as well to try and scare this Carnosaur off, because that is a dangerous beast, of course. Now you'll see, though, the Lizardmen are pushing towards my front line, so I've got my artillery there firing away, trying to get a decent amount of health and morale damage before lines actually meet, and you'll see the Carnosaur is having a great time. So take a look in the center here, how much morale damage has already taken place, while on the right flank I've got these rats just diving in, getting a decent amount of damage done, tossing these guys around, breaking their formation completely, while in the center, I believe the Gutter Runners have a bit of a netting capability that's going on down there, holding a lot of the Lizardmen army in place just temporarily, but helping me out quite a bit. Meanwhile, you'll see the Carnosaur does begin to rampage. While I look for a place to pop the Plague Vortex down, I do so to get some damage done, and then the Doom Wheel goes on an important mission to harvest some food for the long winter up ahead. You'll see just completely plowing through these guys. Does not give a damn, doesn't give a rat's ass, as it were. You've seen these clips before, yes, but I mean, it's so much fun. Let's just watch it again. There you have it, Doom Wheel getting a lot of work done, spreading it around, chasing down enemy units, and just trying to shut everything down. Meanwhile, you'll see the Ancient Stegodon. I'm trying to swarm it a little bit here, but look at how much damage it does to Skrolk, taking about a quarter of his health off, so very dangerous there, but you'll see I kind of focus down on it with ranged units. I also get some Halberdiers in there as well, some Storm Vermin with Halberds rather, trying to focus down on it, and the morale drops to about 50% right away. Meanwhile, the Doom Rocket, I do look for where I can pop it. I find these Saurus Warriors, and keep an eye on those Saurus Warriors, and take a look at how much damage is actually dealt there as that cluster bomb goes down. They're rampaging right away, dropped about a quarter of their health as well, so great to see that in action. Meanwhile, you'll see I do try to shut down some of these Temple Guard over here. My Storm Vermin with Halberds are in a very precarious situation, and I want them preoccupied with the Ancient Stegodon, which is very low on morale and health, so a lot of focus fire there, of course, doing its job. Meanwhile, all the way over there, these Gutter Runners are, they got a little adventurous, and I need to rescue them now, so that's unfortunate. And again, looking to cast the Plague Vortex spell, I decide to pop it over here and turn these Storm Vermin with Halberds around to kind of hold the line there and get the Plague Vortex spell to do as much damage as possible. So keep an eye there, and now I also have the Doom Rocket coming in, another one. I thought we were only supposed to get one, so maybe that's a bit of a bug, but I pop another Doom Rocket and try to hit those Skink Skirmishers, so take a look at this. So there comes the Doom Rocket, boom, doing a decent amount of hurt to both of those guys, and meanwhile the Plague Vortex spell instantaneously taking care of that central engagement. Meanwhile, the Doom Wheel does continue to plow through the enemy, doing a decent amount of hurt, of course. I think it gets about 100 and something kills by the end of this battle, and it's not the best micromanaged, to be perfectly honest, though I am sending it around, trying to shut everything down. You'll see over here as well, I'm telling it to just move through the enemy, not even charge into the enemy. I do change my mind after it gets that shot off, though, and again, right away, these guys are made to completely shatter. They give up, they're on their way out, and the Lizardmen really don't want to stick around for the most part. You'll see the Doom Wheel just sending it off, and meanwhile, the Slan there does fall off his palanquin and just disappears into nothingness. Bedtime, baby. Now, over here, you'll see I pull these guys away. I do want to be careful about the enemy melee contingent that's pushing forward. I do need to help Skrolk as well. He's very low on health and he's completely surrounded. The Arcane Conduit graphic visual, by the way, also looks very different as well. I just want to say that looks really nice. But I send these Storm Vermin Halberdiers in. I bless them with Filth to get some poison damage in there to slow enemy units down and just weaken them overall in terms of attributes and get Skrolk the hell out of there. Meanwhile, the Doom Wheel does continue to give chase to various units, but at this point the Lizardmen have more or less given up. They're tucking tail and running. I don't think they want to stick around. I don't think there's anything left for them here. Yeah, that's pretty much the battle at this point. The Hell Pit Abomination just manages to survive, and hey, Lizardmen? More like losermen, am I right? That was pretty atrocious, and I apologize for that. But the Doom Wheel does continue to finish some work off. You'll see, I think it does, in fact, yes, about 116 kills before it's done and dealt with. But again, it is a chariot. Now, with that, guys, that's everything I've got for you right now from this Skaven. Thank you very much for watching, as always. Make sure you subscribe to this channel for much more news that's coming in the near future. Yes, yes. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, cheers.